Hey folks, it's Ryan with Killer again. This is your weekly YouTube update. I know that was kind of stupid. Sitting there watching James Dean Rebel Without a Cause. Yesterday you saw me riding, so you can't say Killer don't go riding. Killer did go riding. Went riding with Sam from the Hellcats. We went up to the Ape Hanger Jimmy Lentz thing. He's in a bad way. He's up in the hospital up in Lake St. Louis. And we kind of went by and made, us and about 80 other people went by and just made a heck of a lot of noise. Also found out that the little Sportster will run 100 mile an hour on the highway. At least if it was paced by her big road street glide. She said I was just walking off into the distance. And boy, I will say this much. She can ride good, and that street glide has got an awesome sound with those Reinhardt exhaust on it. What we're going to talk about today is, real quick, ain't going to be anything life-shattering or woo, end of the world-ish, is new things coming out, new things mimicking old things coming out, and why do we need 8 kinds of Triumph Bonnevilles? First of all, new things coming out. Harley Davidson has released, finally, the Pan America Adventure Touring Bike. All right. Harley Davidson is now decided, after years of going after guys my age and older, to spend their money, large sums of money, and women, large sums of money, on Harley Davidson and t-shirts and everything else, new ones especially, at dealerships, to go after the adventure touring market. The market BMW has owned forever. Now, if you ain't really sure what adventure touring is, all right, think of it, I guess the best way you could put it would be like this. Think of it as people who own really jacked up, big tired Range Rovers, what's the one Toyota makes? Land Cruisers, Broncos, Blazers, Jeep Cherokees that never go off-road with them. Oh, they look like they could do the part. They look like they could do the business. And they could, but they never get used for it. That's a lot of the adventure tour bikes. Not all of them. I mean, I know guys that have got big 1200 BMWs that do off-road ride them. All right, that do fire road them, that do camp with them. I also know people with SP400 Suzukis that do the same thing, or XL 650 and 500 Triumphs, Hondas, or Super 10-year Yamahas that do the same thing. Harley is going after the big money market. We're going to have this bike. You can ride it, as their video on their release shows it, you can ride it from Arizona to Kenya and never touch a road. You can just blast across the desert like Lawrence of Arabia. 600 pound, 20, by the time you get the good one, outfitted, fancy paint, the tubeless spoked wheels that BMW's had for a while, top of the line Showa, yes, Showa, Harley's used Showa forks for a long time, Showa suspension and everything. By the time you get it all set up, it's going to run you right at $23,000. Let's sink that in for a minute, folks. $23,000. Right up there with the BMW, which is about 25. I think the top of the line Triumph Tiger off-roader is about 21. Okay. There's a lot cheaper ways to go off-road. Is it going to have all the bells and whistles and things like that? The new 1250cc 106, their claim. I ain't seen one on a dyno, I ain't rode one. All right. But they claim the new water-cooled overhead cam V-twin. Funny, that sounds a lot like a Victory ideal with the last generation Victory before it became an Indian, but that won't digress. Overhead cam, water-cooled V-twin, fuel injected, of course, makes right around 140 to 150 horsepower. That is a lot of ponies out of a V-twin. I mean, you're not talking Ducati number, but it's more than the BMW makes. It's more than the Triple makes. Supposedly, this is the most powerful adventure bike you can own. And, of course, being a Harley, it makes a ton of torque. It's also hella expensive to have something to beat out in the woods. My personal opinion on this. I understand why Harley went for this. The adventure touring market, I mean, let's be real truthful. Their Harley-Davidson's market, along with most motorcycle companies' market, Honda's going to have this problem with the Goldwing in a few years, is dying. I mean, we're getting old. Harley's main market now, their average market age is 58. Okay, let's sink that in for a minute. 58. I mean, I'm 57, but I know 58-year-old people out there that are just as spry as 30-year-olds. And then there's some like me that walk around like we're 80-year-olds. But be that as it may, the market's going away. And Harley's not going to reinvent the touring bike to get a new market. They're just not. Their touring bikes have worked for years with the market they've got. So what Harley-Davidson's going to do is go into a whole new market, the live wire. They're trying to catch hold of the electric craze, which in the long run may prove in their favor. The new Pan America, trying to breed into that. Now, in my personal opinion, Harley-Davidson should have took that big new motor and have shoved it into an urban street fighter calf racer based, or street tracker or scrambler based on a youth hipster market, sold it for under 10 grand, and they could have sold it. It ain't what Harley's building that's wrong. It's what they're selling it for is wrong. No way, I've said this before, I'll say it again, no way should an 883 Sportster cost $11,000 new. Nope. Shouldn't. No. All right. Now, the next thing on this is the Indian Chief, the 2022. Did we just skip a year? Indian Chief. All right. The Indian Chief has been known, and this model will stick around as the Heritage Chief, but the Indian Chief has been, since the 40s, has been known as the big fender Art Deco style motor. What Indian is currently going to build 2022. Actually, they're building them now, marketing them as a 2022. Chief is a modern Chout. It's a Chief motor in a Scout frame. And surprisingly, that Scout frame looks a lot like a Victory, Magnum, maybe, or an Octane, maybe. Ooh, but hey, Polaris owned them both. You might as well use the good stuff. So you got that in 3 different styles. You got a Heritage Chief, and then you've got the Challenger, the new big touring bike, which I personally like. I see no fault with it. I think it's a perfectly good bike. That brings us to the next thing. Triumphs, new, Bonnevilles. They're not really all that new. They're basically the same Bonneville that Triumph's been making for a while. The T100 is a 1000cc, 980cc. And then the T120 is a 1200cc, parallel twin, water cooled, overhead cam, air and oil cooled. No, hold it. The 1200 is water cooled. My fault. And they're building it as the Scrambler. I get that. And the Scrambler, the 1200 Scrambler, the XE model, you can actually use is a usable dirt bike. I mean, you're not going to go run the Baja 1000 with it. You're not going to go run a modern hare scramble with it. But you can use it off-road. Much like you can use the Harley-Davidson Pan America off-road. You can use it off-road. They're building the Bobber, the Speedster. They got about 5 or 6 different models of Bonneville. Well, what they're doing is they're making it where you customize it at the dealership. Much like Harley Davidson. You go in, you tell them you want this. There's the wall. The wall of chrome. You can buy and put pretties on it and buy your t-shirts and your jackets and be part of the in crowd. And Triumph's doing it just like Harley did it. Triumph's doing it just like they did it 50 years ago. Just like Harley did it 50 years ago. You know, I get it. I do. I understand it. It's how to make money. When you can't sell enough motorcycles, you sell a lifestyle. I get it. My lifestyle can't be bought and sold, but for some people it can. I think Triumph might be more along the lines of the correct way to go than Harley Davidson is, because the medium age for a person buying a Triumph, because now you got to remember, not only does Triumph sell Bonneville, Triumph sells the Rocket 3, Triumph sells the Tiger, adventure bikes, Triumph sells sport bikes. So the medium age for a person buying a Triumph is 38. That's a 20-year difference between Triumph and Harley Davidson's medium age. So you kind of got to look-see here at the market. All right? I truly think Harley Davidson needs to take that motor, and I'm sure they will. But they axed the Bronx, which was their urban bike. They axed the Scrambler and built the Pan America because they were afraid there wasn't a market for anything, and they'd already had money thrown into the Pan America project. All right. Will it pan out? Hard to tell. I hope it does. I don't want to see Harley go broke, but I think they need to rethink their marketing. I do. I also think this. Harley needs, they're going to have to replace the Sportster. That 1250cc, the new motor, and I'm sure there's a cool name for it, I just don't know it. But the new motor will fit right into a Sportster frame with a little bit of finagling. There's you a muscle bike. Make it for under 10 grand. Here's where your motorcycle market's going to be. All honesty, hand to God. People my son's age, a little bit younger, a little bit older. Your motorcycle market is going to be used bikes. All right. Used bikes under the cost of $4,000. New bikes under the cost of $10,000. If you are a big company, follow Royal Enfield's lead. Nice, do-it-all bike like the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650 or the Continental GT 650. Sell the aftermarket stuff for it. Sell the big bore kits for it to punch it to 800-something cc's. Sell the mufflers. Sell the air filter kits. Sell the reflash maps. Sell the t-shirts and the jackets and make it a lifestyle. But sell it under 10 grand where you have enough money left from the initial purpose to buy all that stuff and make it your own. If I go out and buy a $14,000 1200 Sportster brand new, I ain't got enough money to do anything to make it my own. Consequently, it's why I'm riding a $2,500 Sportster, and now I got enough money I can put pipes and carbs and then shocks and make it a better bike. And there you go. Now, Killer's going to sit here and watch stock car races and dream of when he's going to be back on the road again, not in a truck, on a bike. Finally getting some warm weather where we can do it like yesterday. And hopefully pretty soon we'll have the big red girl back and an update on her. So, be safe out there. Be nice to each other. Do what you got to do to get it up and down the road. Go out. Find that project. Build that bike. Find a used one at a reasonable amount you can afford. If you want to ride, find a way to ride. You ain't got to ride new. You can ride used. You can build your own. Hell, you probably build your own and build it better than the factory can. So, peace, love, motorcycles. Who knows? You might see me out there on the road and you get to go riding with Killer. Talk to y'all later. Bye now.